Hare Krishna Prabhu, sorry for the delay. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Thank you very much for your valuable time.
I obeisances, glories of Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to you, Srutakirti Prabhu. Thank you.
Aye.
Most of you all know, I think, Srutakirti Prabhu, senior disciple of Sri Prabhupada, for almost 40 plus years. He's engaged in the service of Sri Prabhupada, right now staying in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So let's welcome with the Lord Haribol. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You can start.
Hare Krishna. Shall we begin?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, you've given me a quite a verse and a very long purport. Here's we're speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 4, text 18. Correct? Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, okay, thank you. You can do it that way. Oh. So Kirata Vanandra Pulinda Pukasa Abhira Sumbayavana Kasadayaha Yene Cha Papa Yad Apasrayasrayaha Sudyanti Tasmei Prabhavish Vaishnave Namaha. Should I just go on reading?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So this is, like you say, this very, very interesting verse.
Yes.
So the synonyms are Kirata, a province of Old Bharat, Huna, part of Germany and Russia, Andhra, a province of southern India, Purinda, the Greeks, Pulkasaha, another province, Abira, part of Old Sind, Sumbaha, another province, Yavanaha, the Turks, Kasa Adayaha, the Mongolian province, Yea, even those, Anye, others, Cha, also, Papaha, addicted to sinful acts, Yat, whose, Apasrayaha, Asrayaha, having taken shelter of the devotees of the Lord, Sudyanti, at once purified, Tasmai, unto him, Prabhavishnave, unto the powerful Vishnu, Namaha, my respectful obeisances. So the translation, Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abira, Sumba, Yavana, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Here Prabhupada will describe most all of these different provinces. Kirata, a province of Old Bharat Barsha, mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharat. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the aboriginal tribes of India, and in modern days, the Santal Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might compromise the old province name Kirata. Huna, The area of East Germany and part of Russia is known as the province of the Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of hill tribe is known as
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we can't hear you. It's internet issue. On that one. Let's give him a minute.
I think his audio completely dropped, Prabhu.
Yeah, he said he will join back in case if internet goes down. Let's give him a minute. Hare Krishna. Now, I'll just go ahead and read. Who joins and we'll get up from here. Andhra, a province in southern India mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. It is still extant under the same name, Pulinda. It is mentioned in the Prabhu comes, please let me know. It is mentioned in the Mahabharata Adi Parva 174.38, which the inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. This country was conquered by Bhimasena and Sahadeva. The Greeks are known as Pulindas, and it is mentioned in the Vana Parva of Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world would rule over the world. So we see the Greeks ruling. This Pulinda province was also one of the provinces of Bharata, and the inhabitants were classified amongst the Kshatriya kings. But later on, okay, Prabhu is back. We are here, Prabhu. We're reading here. Go ahead. You're on. Go ahead, Prabhu. We are here in this particular.
Okay, very good. So, but later on, due to their giving up the Brahminical culture, they were mentioned as Maleches, just as those who are not followers of the Islamic culture are called Kafirs, and those who are not followers of the Christian culture are called heathens. Abira. This name also appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province was situated on the river Saraswati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended on the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as Abiras. They were under the domination of Maharaj Yudhisthira, and according to the statements of Markandeya, the Maleches of this part of the world would also rule over Bharat. Later on, this proved to be true, as in the case of the Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India, and on behalf of the Abiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abiras were also formerly Kshatriyas within the Brahminical culture, but they gave up that connection. The Kshatriyas who were afraid of Parshuram and had hidden themselves in the Caucasian hilly regions later on became known as the Abiras. And the place they inhabited was known as Abira Desha. Sumbas or Kankas, the inhabitants of the Kanka province of Old Bharat, mentioned in the Mahabharata. Yavanas. Yavana was the name of one of the sons of Maharaj Yayati, who was given the part of the world known as Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas due to being descendants of Maharaj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas, and later on, by giving up the Brahminical culture, they became Malecha Yavanas. Descriptions of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 84, text 34. Another prince called Turvasu was also known as Yavana, and his country was conquered by Sahadev, one of the Pandavas. The Western Yavana joined with Duryodhana in the Battle of Kurukshetra under the pressure of Karna. It was also foretold that these Yavanas also would conquer India, and it is proved to be true. Kasa. The inhabitants of Kasadesh are mentioned in the Mahabharata, the Drona Parva. Those who have a stunted growth of hair on the upper lip are generally called Kasas. As such, the Kasas are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above-mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible to the standard of perfect human beings if they take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Muhammad, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the version of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world situation, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name and style of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already been started, then by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world, because the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to effect such a change by purifying the dust-worn minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda, and that the valuable life of a human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, would be guided by the good counsel of the devotees, then certainly there would be a great change in the world situation by the purifying propaganda of the devotees as shown by Lord Chaitanya. As Sukadeva Goswami began his prayer by discussing the world Yat Kirtanam, so also Lord Chaitanya recommended that simply by glorifying the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place by which the complete misunderstanding between the human nations created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other prophets will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead, as we have several times discussed in these pages. According to the cult of devotion, generally known as the Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. A Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn into a Vaishnava, even the Kirata, etc., as above mentioned. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 32, it is said by the Lord that there is no bar to becoming a devotee of the Lord, even for those who are low-born, or women, Sudras, or Vaishyas. And by becoming a devotee, everyone is eligible to return home back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord who has thorough knowledge in the transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant, in the science of Krishna, becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by the purification of heart. I'm going to read that again. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the science of Krishna becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by the purification of heart. Though a person be even the most sinful man, he can at once be purified by systematic contact with a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, therefore, can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste and creed, and promote him by regulative principles to the status of a pure Vaishnava, who is transcendental to Brahminical culture. The system of caste or Varnashram Dharma is no longer regular, even amongst the so-called followers of the system. Nor is it now possible to reestablish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution. Without any reference to the particular custom of a country, one can be accepted to the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in its transcendental process. So by the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental cult. Such cultural propaganda by the devotees will certainly be accepted by all persons who are reasonable and inquisitive, without any particular bias for the custom of the country. The Vaishnava never accepts another Vaishnava on the basis of birthright, just as he never thinks of the deity of the Lord in a temple as an idol. And to remove all doubts in this connection, Srila Sukadeva Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord, who is all-powerful. Prabhu Vaishnave Namaha. As the all-powerful Lord accepts the humble service of his devotee, the humble service of his devotee in devotional activities of the Archana, his form as the worshipable deity in the temple. Similarly, the body of a pure Vaishnava changes transcendentally at once when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunction of Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Arche Vishnau Shiladir Gurusu Nara Matir Vaishnave Jati Budhi Shri Vishnur Namne Sabda Samanya Budhi, etc. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple to be an idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master an ordinary man, nor should one consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste, etc. From the Padma Purana. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all-powerful, can, under any and every circumstance, accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as the spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than the Varnashramites, as he himself declared, to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is the eternal servant of the Lord, who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan, Lord Krishna. That is the way of self-realization. Hare Krishna. So there's certainly a lot to discuss. Person purport. Let me get straightened out here. Omaganam Timarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksulan Militam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swaya Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapatandikam Vanchakopa Tirubhischakri Pasandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you, Prabhu, for arranging this class. It's been a few months, I imagine. Of course, we're here in Vrindavan still. Today we had a very nice ceremony. Anyone coming to Vrindavan for this Kartik, you're going to see a very different Krishna Balaram Mandir and Goshala than you've seen previously. Many, many changes going on here. This is all a result of what Srila Prabhupada has done, as he describes here. We can see by this verse, everything started Vedic culture. All these different countries, all these different cultures is very systematically described, how they all ultimately came from Bharat Barsha. And due to Kali Yuga, we see Kali Yuga has so much effect. We can see the present situation of the world. I know it was many, many years ago. In fact, it was 1975, almost 50 years ago, that Prabhupada was in Mayapur. We know Lord Chaitanya, of course, he appeared there. He himself began Nam Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada describes how even he was without distinction making devotees. On that walk, there was a very famous morning walk in Mayapur at that time, which I happened to be there. I was fortunate enough to be there, recording as much as I could. At those times, in the very early 70s, recording Srila Prabhupada wasn't always a simple thing, especially when we were outside of the West. We had no cassette. I never had a cassette tape recorder when I was with Srila Prabhupada. I was recording on a big, heavy German called an reel-to-reel tape recorder. And getting those reels of tape, I think there were two companies that made them, TDK and one other. So that was at a premium. So I would record as much as I could at that time. But anyway, on this morning walk, there was so many Prabhupada sannyasis were there, GBC members. This was during big Gaur Purnima festival. So there were 500 devotees in Mayapur at that time. And Prabhupada was walking and the walk was going on. And at that time, there was just a lotus building, no other building on our land. And we were surrounded by basically rice paddies. And Prabhupada, you would walk on the ridges between the different paddies, the raised ridges. And as Prabhupada was walking, he said, soon there'll be a war. And as soon as he said that, of course, their antennas went up. The devotees have always been thinking, when is it going to happen? When is this going to happen? So Prabhupada said, soon there will be a war. And he said it would begin between India and Pakistan. And by that time now, everyone, even though it was difficult walking alongside of Prabhupada because of the way the fields were, everyone was surrounding Srila Prabhupada as much as they could to hear. And Prabhupada said different things. one of the things he said, of course, after the war, he said, preaching will be very good. And he said that the farms, it was at this time, as well as so many other times, Prabhupada was saying how important farm communities were. Here in Vrindavan, just some years ago, now we have 15 minutes from the temple, 15, 20 minutes from the temple, we have both a Gurukula and our eco farm. So they compromise 100 acres. And we're trying to get them more and more to utilize the land. We're bringing many of our cows, bulls over to this area from our Goshala here right next to the temple. But anyway, Prabhupada made the point that it would be very good for preaching. But devotees were concerned. War was going to start. Must take shelter. Devotees were concerned way back again, 50 years ago. Rumors that the whole West Coast was going to fall into the ocean. People were leaving Los Angeles 50 years ago to go to a safe place. And at one point, Prabhupada could see everyone was getting so agitated and excited what to do, where to go. And Prabhupada just looked and smiled, and he looked up in the sky. And he said, if we see bomb is coming, say, here comes Krishna. So we can see now the world 50 years later. Prabhupada also mentioned 1973, on a morning walk in Los Angeles. So he was walking around. He would take his morning walk in two places. One was at Venice Beach. Of course, Prabhupada liked to walk by the ocean, walk on the sand beach. Of course, he liked Juhu Beach the most because it was flat. Venice Beach was on an angle, so not so flat, more difficult to walk. Juhu Beach, very nice and wide and flat. But he would take a walk there, and other times he would walk, it was called Cheviot Hills Park. And there was a very pretty small lake, a pond, big pond or small lake, and he would walk around that once or twice. And at that place, he was talking about how the leaders and the scientists, how they're completely misrepresenting everything, how they're cheating, how they're lying to society. And one devotee said, Prabhupada, has been going on for thousands of years. This truth has been hidden. Prabhupada said, no, not thousands of years. He says, just in the last few hundred years. He said, everything. He said, so much cheating is going on. So much lying is going on. And then he said, in 50 years, he said, in 50 years, it will all be finished. He didn't elaborate on that. But of course, I can see, as you can see, probably Krishna Nam, how things have changed so dramatically in the last 50 years. What to speak of in the last 10 years, the last 5 years. We say, what do we say in America? Going to hell in a bucket, go to hell in a ham bucket. A very serious situation. And now this other war that has just begun, everyone's taking sides. The only solution, Prabhupada would always say, is Krishna consciousness. He says how he always wanted to go to New York. When he left Vrindavan, he said others, they were thinking go to England, go to Europe. He said, but I wanted to go to New York, he said, which was most important city in the world at that time. We know just the other day they had, well, they do often, but they had Harinam Sankirtan under the tree, the very famous Hare Krishna tree in the park there to celebrate Prabhupada's arrival in New York. Prabhupada said there's all these different races, everyone basically is coming ultimately from Bharat Barsha. I know when we were in India, Prabhupada would speak so much, very heavily to the people that attended his pandals there. Sometimes, like we know the pandal in Mumbai, what was it called? Anyway, 20,000 people coming. And Prabhupada always pointed to these Indians from Barsha. He said, this is your business, preaching Krishna consciousness. He would tell us at that time, Prabhupada concentrated so much on Westerners. And as the years go by, I understand it more and more why he did that. Because he knew all Indians, they would become devotees gradually. We see here in India, some of you may know, New Delhi, 17 temples now. Mostly Gopal Krishna has managed with the help of we have one of his disciples here, Golokananda Maharaj. He just building, construction, so many temples. Here in Vrindavan, he's helped us. We just inaugurated today Krishna Balaram Hall in our Goshala. It's over 15,000 square feet, the hall itself, with an attached kitchen area, storage area, transfer area. People are flocking to Vrindavan like never before. We're trying to prepare for this Kartik. Currently, we feed here every day. We feed Kitri Prasadam at the front of the temple from 20,000 to 35,000 people every day for free. These are all Prabhupada's desires. We feed full Prasadam every day, 2,000 to 5,000 people. We just do, and everything is free. This is all because people are coming more and more to Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada said, the more there's difficulty, it's good for preaching. When people suffer, we know, what do? They turn to God. Even Prabhupada quoted what he say, in the foxhole, there are no atheists. You know, a foxhole is when there's war, the ground crew, of course, they dig a hole deep enough so that just their head can show with their rifle, or foxholes. When you're in that position, no more atheists. Everyone's praying to God. And we see this very much here in this part of the world. As I said in the beginning, I remember a devotee, one of my godbrothers, and it was right in Juhu in Mumbai. He told Prabhupada he was learning Hindi. Prabhupada was never eager to see people took on new studies. He always said, whatever you know, you use it in Krishna consciousness. He said, no need to learn anything else. He said, you don't have to go to school for this and that. He said, from this moment on, whatever you have, you utilize it for Krishna. And he would say this very often. So he said to this devotee, he was very young at the time, like all of us, he was in his mid-20s. And he told Prabhupada, I'm learning Hindi. And Prabhupada said, why? He said, well, I want to preach to the Indians. Prabhupada looked at him. He said, I've been preaching to them my whole life. I haven't made one devotee. So what are you going to do? But Prabhupada knew, the pure devotee, Prabhupada describes everything he does is perfect because he only does what he's being given direction by his spiritual master and directly by Krishna. Everything Prabhupada did was precisely what he was supposed to do. And even that act, particularly going to the West and preaching,
Internet issues, Vrindavan.
In the years that would come, all of this would happen very naturally. Now we can see so much. Here in Vrindavan, we have 1,000 devotees engaged in the temple here, 35 departments, everyone serving Krishna in so many capacities. People from all over the world, but of course, many from here in India doing so much service. There was no restriction. Prabhupada, it's so nice when I see him speaking in this purport, he talks about himself, what he's doing, and he's telling everyone the qualifications of the pure devotee, qualifications of making a devotee, and why it can be done. Because when Prabhupada was preaching in the 70s, he met a lot of resistance from God brothers. I mentioned many times when I was with him just in the very beginning, I was with him just for a few weeks. He was talking with my god brother Burajan, who he was just here last week. And Prabhupada was heading to Vrindavan for Kartik. And this would be the first Kartik festival he attended since he left Radha Damodar Temple. So now he's going back 1972 for Kartik, Radha Damodar Temple. When we were on the airplane, Prabhupada was conscious, very conscious of it. He turned to me and he said, I was a new servant. I had been with him just for days. And he said to me, so we're going to Vrindavan for Kartik. I didn't even know what Kartik was at that time. I had been literally living in a temple for 16 months. And we didn't know Kartik festivals. We didn't know Damodar Ashtakam. None of these things were part of what we did. We just went out, chanted in the streets, distributed BTGs in the streets, and then gradually books in the streets. That's all we knew. But he was bringing us there to Vrindavan. So he said, when we get there, he said, I'll be giving classes from Nectar of Devotion. He said, and you'll read, and then I'll stop you and I'll give commentary. I said, yes, Prabhupada. So then a few days later, we were in Thailand, where Burjan was his wife. And he came to visit Srila Prabhupada. There was no place to stay. We were literally staying in a hotel. And I'm massaging Srila Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada talking to Burjan, and he said, we've been successful because we allowed women in the society, just as it's described in this purport. Prabhupada talks about this. Everyone is welcome. Any caste, any creed, any culture. He said, well, Malecha, what do you say? Malecha Yavanas, the Malecha Kshatriyas, everyone fallen in this world. He said, but I've been successful because allowing women in the temples. He said, when I went to your country, he said, I studied the American people. He said, for a year. We know Prabhupada was in America for a year before he went and sat in the park, Tompkins Square Park, and chanted by himself with just a small pair of cartels. So he said, I studied your people and I could see men and women always together. He said, so in the temples, he said, this is what I did. And because we did it, we're successful. He said, but my godbrothers, they just criticized me. So this is what Prabhupada dealt with. And many times, to Jesus, he would say he's Shaktavish avatar. He said everyone, he's trying to deliver everyone. He even said it one time, he said that Christians, he said they're Vaishnavas. So this was Prabhupada. He would say even you can chant. When he would come in America, he said, you don't have to chant Hare Krishna. You can chant Jesus, the name of God. You chant anything. He said, just chant. So when Prabhupada came to the West, he was very much open. He just wanted to give Krishna to everyone. And as he said, the one thing I had, complete faith in the words of my spiritual master and the Maha Mantra. Much more than that, Prabhupada was pure devotee. He describes in one place, pure devotee, he says, he has no material body. He's completely transcendental. He's unaffected, he said, by the modes of material nature. I would see this daily traveling with Srila Prabhupada. Nothing materially affected him. Nothing disturbed him, his consciousness. Whatever was going on, he had one mission, to give Krishna to everyone. And here he's describing every different culture. They're all available to receive Krishna. And he said, anyone who learns the philosophy, understands the philosophy, he can become pure devotee. Prabhupada said, I read in one place, he said, just wearing tilak and dhoti does not make one a devotee. He said, one has to be able to understand the philosophy and to preach the philosophy. He said, that's devotee, that's Vaishnava. He said, not you just simply put on tilak and carry bead bag. He said, one has to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So this was Prabhupada's mission. He trained. We know his leaders, he would always say the same thing. And he would have them sometimes travel. He would pick different GBC to have them travel with him for 1 month. And the whole business in traveling it with him was to see what he did, to see how he did it. Not just reading the books, but to see actively how personally Prabhupada did everything. He wanted everyone to understand how he spread Krishna consciousness. No, before he came, we know he did Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. This canto here, we're second canto, 8th chapter. So that means he's translating this after coming to America, 1967, 1968. So he's already seeing how different cultures are going on, how to spread Krishna consciousness based on different cultures. You know, we're so far into Krishna consciousness now. What Srila Prabhupada did was so important because he showed us it didn't matter. It's not a question of birth. It's a question of desire. Anyone can be devotee, as he mentioned. Instructions. You know, we have things going on here now in India. Even the cows, they're saying only this cow we should drink milk from, only this. Imagine if Srila Prabhupada had that attitude when he came, only this person can become devotee. Oh no, you're not qualified to be a devotee, you're malechas. This was the atmosphere when Prabhupada came to the West to preach. We have to be very careful that we don't allow this literally racism to enter even into the animal lives. Prabhupada was very happy in New Vrindavan, taking milk from our Malecha cows, our Western cows, our Jersey cows, our Holstein cows. He praised what wonderful milk was there. Prabhupada saw everyone is devotee of Krishna. Everyone part and parcel of Krishna, even the animals. And not just Sarabi cows, all the cows. I saw Prabhupada where someone's talking about a dog. He said it's a person. Prabhupada called the dog a person. Everyone is person. Everything is personal. We have to, in becoming Krishna consciousness, we have to be able to see everyone is eligible to be devotee. And a devotee can engage anyone in Krishna consciousness. This is what Prabhupada did. In coming to the West, he engaged all the people, he engaged the animals, he didn't make distinctions. You know, I know when I was on the way to Mayapur, a very famous place, the mango grove, where Prabhupada would stop. Halfway to Mayapur, it was mango grove. When we went there, 1973 was the first time. There were very beautiful young mango trees, not very tall, very easy for getting mangoes from. You go now, they're all, of course, ancient trees. But at that time, it was a very luxurious mango grove. And as soon as we get there, we would have the morning program. This was also very basic things. Wherever Prabhupada was, we had the same program. That program, Prabhupada called the routine, Mangalartik, chanting rounds, Guru Puja. These things would go on wherever we were. If we were at a temple, if we were staying at someone's flat, if we were staying at some vacation cottage in Perth, everything the same. We just had nice class today, or yesterday, in Daiva Shakti speaking. Everything we do from the beginning, Sadhana Bhakti, we practice even in the pure stages, but we do it out of desire. Prabhupada was chanting his rounds. Prabhupada was worshiping the deity. Prabhupada was reading his books. Prabhupada was doing bhajans. Everything he wanted us to do, everything he required us to do, he was doing it himself. As a pure devotee, it doesn't change. The characteristics of the devotee continues. Only our sentiment, our feeling changes as we become advanced. We look forward to chanting every mantra on our beads. One looks forward to go to Mangal Arti, to see the deity in the morning, to greet the deities. I see this here in Vrindavan, greeting the deities in the morning. So many fight to be there to see the deities as the curtains are open. This is devotional life. So Prabhupada wanted this for everyone. We have to be very careful. We also, some years ago, just before the lockdown, my wife and I, we went to South Africa. We went to Nairobi, we went to Mauritius, these places. And they were telling us, Prabhupada was speaking in a hall. And of course, it was all filled up with Indians. And Prabhupada saw outside, he saw some Africans outside, and Prabhupada said, have them come in. Prabhupada went to preach to them. He went to preach to the African-bodied people. When he came to America, he wanted to see that the Westerners, they took. You're all very blessed, those in Indian bodies. As I said, 1973, Prabhupada said, they're 90% Krishna conscious, the people in India. He said, but they're going in other direction. He said, the Westerners, 10%, but they're accepting Krishna. What I've said it over the last 50 years, that 90% was shrinking within India. That 90% was 80%, 70%. But in that way, actually, people become very unhappy. And materialistic life, everyone's unhappy. So now these people turning here in India by the thousands every day, turning to Krishna consciousness. I have people write me, I want to join the temple. Young people writing, I want to join the temple. How do I join ISKCON? I want to be part of ISKCON. I know over the years, India is just blossoming more and more. There's over 100 temples here. Temples are going, in next week, there's a temple opening up. Beautiful temple, 4 or 5 acres of land, Ludhiana. It's just 8 hours from here. Everywhere a temple. Here in Vrindavan, I advise people, do not come here on weekends. Don't come here on Ekadasis. Don't come here during Kartik. You can't even get inside Vrindavan anymore. Every weekend, they literally close the streets. They only allow, not even motor rickshaws, they only allow pedal rickshaws in the Vrindavan area. Or they have a few car parks. It becomes chock-a-block, as they would say in England. You can't move. We can't get out of Vrindavan on the weekends. The streets are so crowded. Everyone is coming. And this is all, whether we like it or think it's too crowded, It's all by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Everything he wanted, we're doing. He wanted people to come, take darshan of the deity. He said, if people come to Vrindavan, they take darshan of Krishna Balaram, Radha Shama Sundar, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. He said they offer their obeisances. He said they take some prasadam. He said everything good. He said that's the beginning of their Krishna consciousness. They don't have to do any. We're now third, sometimes fifth in the world in book distribution. Every day a few thousand books are distributed, 2,000, 3,000 books a day, just at our temple. So Prabhupada has done something that is just unimaginable. Just as he would say, just on the basis, he said, all I did, follow the order of my spiritual master. And this is the important thing for all of us. I know I lived in area there by Cherry Hill, New Jersey for 20 years. I'm not sure it says Central New Jersey. Where is the temple there?
In Plainfield, next to Edison, Piscataway, South Plainfield, Bridgewater, you can say close by. Cherry Hill is maybe 50 miles, 60 miles or even more south.
You're near the Turnpike or Jersey Turnpike?
Yes. Yeah, Turnpike maybe 5 miles. Yeah.
Which exit?
Close to exit 5 or 6.
So very close.
No.
Okay.
287 exit. The Turnpike exit will be 10. 287.
Yes, things have changed there so much. I would only go to the Philadelphia temple, which I lived in Cinnaminson by exit 4. So I would go to Philly temple, but it was 45 minutes away just to get there from where I was. But no, it's very wonderful. So your business, how big is the community?
For Sunday feast, we have 300 people at least joining Sunday feast program in the evening.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to open it up for questions, if that's okay.
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yep.
I can tell you we're getting very busy here trying to get ready for Kartik. There's amazing transformation going on here at our Krishna Balaram Mandir. We've started a project. We're building a whole new guest house area, Krishna Hall, Balaram Hall, new Govinda's restaurant. We've taken down the Gurukula building that next to the temple, which is being literally demolished. It has been unsafe for a very long time. And we were told that you can't even make it better. Better you just start from new. So we're doing that. But we're also expanding in our Goshala. As I said, we have our farm community just 15 minutes from here. There's so many things are going on here. And we want to try to get everything together to offer it to Srila Prabhupada for his 50th anniversary celebration, which is in just 2 years, less than 2 years now from now. To have a major portion of that is done. We're renovating all of the deities' closets, all their rooms, everything for them. It's one of our also most important project because everything is for the deities. Prabhupada said, you take nice care of the deity, everything else will go on. Tell you one of the things when I was with Prabhupada, he only did it 3 times while I was with him. We would come to a temple, and rather than me cooking, he would say, bring me Raj Bhog, which meant what the deity was being offered for lunch. And every time I brought it to Srila Prabhupada, he criticized it because he knew it wasn't good because Krishna talks to Prabhupada, the deity would tell Srila Prabhupada what was going on. And by knowing the deities weren't being served nicely, nothing else in the temple was right. Because the whole foundation of temple life is to take care of the deities. So he would always do it when he wanted to make corrections in the temple. Then he would bring in the pujaris and the cooks, and he would say, each time almost expressions were the same. This dal tastes like mud. Chapatis, they would be crispy instead of nice puffed up chapatis. But he would say you have to take first class care of the deities, because how the deity worship is being done, everything else in the temple is affected, including everyone in the temple. So most important thing in the temple is how the deity was taken care of. So I got to see with Srila Prabhupada over and over again when he went to different temples. If it was first class, he wouldn't have to say anything. He would know. But so it's very important. And we're trying here in Vrindavan, which we have a very high standard of the deities. How many outfits a year do they get? 35. They get 35 outfits a year. They could get more, but we limit it to festival times. People will give outfits here so often. But everything else, the cooking, their closets, everything we want to make very first class. So this is also part of what we're trying to do for the 50th anniversary of the installation of the Krishna Balaram deities here, because they're the heart and soul. They're everything. Srila Prabhupada and his Krishna Balaram. So of course we invite everyone to come, but pick your times when it's not so busy. All right, I see there's a Satish Pandit as a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I had a question regarding the cows. So the way, if you see 25, 30 years back, the way the cows were treated, fed, or managed, whether in US or in India or in any country, was kind of a natural. Now, in today's world, the way they are treated, with including the type of food they are fed, and the way they are milked, it's cruel. So my question is, other than the cows that are managed by ISKCON, or like, for example, in Gita Nagari, that part I understand, which is pretty natural way. So when we offer milk or milk products to Krishna, is Krishna going to accept that, the way the cows are treated? Or honestly, I have been thinking about it for last 1 month, and my inner conscience did not allow it. And I stopped offering milk or milk products to Krishna, rather than, just fruits or dry fruits, unless you can get, the milk, like from Gita Nagari or something, which is very hard to get depending where you live. So just wanted to understand your thoughts on that, please.
That's a very good question. As you say, just like here at our Goshala here, we don't do any artificial insemination even anymore. We when guest comes, we have special ladus for the cow made with jaggery and sesame seeds and few other things that we give them. If 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I was in Los Angeles. They had the Prabhupada Festival, which they have every Memorial Day weekend. It's been for over 20 years now. And at this festival, they invited Prabhupada's cooks. 7 of us showed up. Myself, of course, I cooked for Prabhupada for 2.5 years. I was with Prabhupada for 2.5 years. Harikesh was there. Halika was there. Shruti Rupa was there. Who? Kushalya, Kishori. They were all Prabhupada's cooks. And we were asked that question about what should be done? What would be done now? And if perhaps, because we know within our society also, we have, many that would speak about being vegan at this time, again, because the same thing, cruelty to the cows. I've also talked to Nanda Kumar, who was Prabhupada's servant for 1.5 years, Govinda Dasi, who was Prabhupada's servant and cook for several months, and Hari Sari, who was with Prabhupada, myself, Hari Sari, and Nanda Kumar, were with Prabhupada almost 6 years out of 11 years. And we all concluded the very same thing, which was you have to offer milk to Krishna. Have to offer. You have to get the best you can do. Just like anything you offer, whether it's fruit, vegetables, grains, it should always be the highest quality that we can do. You know, I see that we have more farms, we have more cows, but we also have exponentially more devotees. There's no question that every devotee is going to get milk from so-called an ahimsa source. Prabhupada stressed so much how much milk is necessary, especially for the children. You know, you can offer to your deity, not offer to your deity. If you have children, they have to have milk. You can't not give them milk. We can, you know, just type it into your database, the importance of milk products. Prabhupada had dairy 3 times a day. Every meal he had dairy. There wasn't one night he didn't have a cup of hot milk. Milk is good for the finer brain tissues so we can understand Krishna consciousness. He never said this milk, that milk. He just said milk. You know, we can say, well, 50 years have gone by, everything's different. In some sense, we can say yes, but I remember 50 years ago, before I was a devotee, my mother, she wouldn't eat veal because she saw that cows were in little pens, like a dog house. Each calf was in this little house. Things haven't changed that dramatically, much, much bigger. The cruelty is on a scale that was not going on then. Within India, they're the biggest exporters of cow in the world. You know, when we went to Srila Prabhupada, we asked him about sugar. Sugar was going through cow bone, ash, supposedly, not all kinds of sugar. Certain sugars don't, some sugars did at that time. What did Prabhupada say? Anyone want to respond what Prabhupada's response was? It's Kali Yuga, everything contaminated. When they showed him the milk, it's a vitamin D2 or D3. Prabhupada, it's fish oil. Prabhupada said, it's Kali Yuga. You offer it to Krishna. What do we know about offering to Krishna? Prabhupada would say, Krishna's not hungry. He doesn't need your puris. He doesn't need your chapatis. He doesn't need your paneer. He wants your devotion. Our business is to do the best we can in every situation. Like I see, I see within our society, let's be realistic. We can see the sannyasis, they're getting their ahimsa milk. Gurus are getting their ahimsa milk. We have 1,000 people here. We get milk from our Goshala here. Maybe it's enough for 50 people. It's enough for the deities. What about the other 5,000 people coming to the temple? They all get milk. Prabhupada had them send ghee from Australia. He had Madhudvisa, who was the GBC of Australia, send ghee to pay his BBT bill, to pay his book bill. He had them send ghee to India for the devotees. Where was this ghee coming from? It wasn't coming from ahimsa farms. But Prabhupada didn't consider, he just knew the devotees need cow milk and they need ghee from cows. And he knew in India, everything was questionable. You're lucky if they only water down the milk with water and don't use chemicals and whiteners. And so he knew that 50 years ago. And when we opened this temple 50 years ago, one of his important things was everyone must get cow milk. We had hundreds of people, 500 more, 600, 700 devotees come here. Prabhupada said, everyone must get cow milk. So our business is to always do the best we can. If you want to offset, what do they say? You know, like offset your carbon footprint. If you want to offset your milk footprint, you can give a donation to Gita Nagari or to some other farm to help support them. And maybe it can make consciousness feel better. But even I drink milk here. You know, we have a person comes, big barrels of milk. I don't know where the milk is coming from. I don't know how he's treating his cows, you know. You see things going on in the street here as well. Who knows, you know, what's going on. But our business is just become Krishna conscious and you do the best you can. But as far as the deity goes, they should get milk. And you know, if you can go to the store and it says grass-fed cows and this, and just do the best you can. If you can get organic. But in any event, you're asking me, I'm telling you personally, you can hear many things from many other people, but my opinion and the opinion of those who have spent 8 out of 11 years cooking for Prabhupada all said the same thing. You must get milk. You must have milk products. It's one of the most important things in our diet, milk products. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Actually, the way I was thinking, it makes sense what you said, because on top of that, this will also protect more cruelty, like slaughtering and all those things on the animals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, Prabhupada didn't even make distinction what cows you're getting it from. You know, this is going on now. They're selling, you know, they're selling A2 ghee for 3-5 times the price of any other ghee. The whole point in ghee is it takes out the impurities. You're left with the same, whether it's from an A2 cow, an A3 cow, whatever you want to, yeah, an A1 cow. It's ghee.
Yep.
Prabhupada didn't make, if Prabhupada made discrimination, none of us would be here today.
Yep.
No, Prabhupada advised Jayapataka Swami, I was there for the conversation. Prabhupada said, you should import a Jersey cow from the West and mate it with one of the Sarabis. He said, because Jersey cow gives very nice milk, very creamy milk. He said, but the Sarabi cow, of course, they can take the heat and everything. So he talked about combining them. You'd say this to these people who are promoting this A2 only milk. They think it's a sinful, it's a sacrilege to do such a thing. But again, Prabhupada didn't have skin disease. Prabhupada saw everyone servant of Krishna, including the cows, including the Jersey cows and the Holstein cows. That's what I grew up with in New Vrindavan. I was milking the first cows there in New Vrindavan, Sarabi and Kunti, way back in 1972. They were very happy to give their milk for the deities. So that's a very wonderful thing. But like I say, if one wants to be vegan, that's okay, but you can't make Krishna vegan. He's Govinda. How can we even think of such a thing? And everyone was in agreement. That very question was asked, as I said, 7 of us. We all kind of chuckled and said, Prabhupada's going to drink milk wherever he is. You don't have to discuss. You know, we offered with devotion as best we could, and we hope that the Lord accepts it. So that's the most important thing. And when you do that, you're going to get the best possible items you can for the Lord. And whatever that best possible is, that's good enough. Anyway, that's the way I see it, and it's the way I've done things throughout my life. So he said over 40 years, it's 52 years. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada's mercy and compassion, somehow or other, 52 years later, I'm here at his home and doing a little service. My wife and I trying to serve the deities here nicely. So yes, but especially the children, you got to take them. All those things are true. Milk gives strong bones. It's all important and develops the brain. And I know there's a lot of alternatives now in the West. You can get quality milk products. If you can get from Gita Nagari, that's very good. But even them, how many people can they supply? There's hundreds of thousands of devotees now all over the world, congregational members. Our business is not to make people feel guilty. Our business is to encourage people in devotional service. Prabhupada made it easy. He didn't try to make it difficult. How difficult can I make this process? His difficult was you chant 16 rounds, you follow the regulative principles with 10 Mangal Artik in class. That was the level of difficulty. Everything else, we should take prasadam, be happy. What did we make? What did we distribute in the streets? You know, Simply Wonderful was powdered milk. You say, for crying out, was milk powder. Who knows how the heck they even come up with milk powder? I'm sure it's not the most hygienic process in the world. Milk powder with white sugar and butter. That's Simply Wonderful. And Prabhupada said they were simply wonderful, distributed them to everyone. Prabhupada cookies, maida, white flour. People say again, maida, white flour, oh, it's nasty, 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 not nutritious, it does this, it does that. Prabhupada gave out those cookies to those children every morning. White flour, white sugar, and butter. And that butter was just bought off whatever local grocery store was there. Well, who wouldn't take one of those cookies now? If Prabhupada offered you a cookie with this milk, homogenized, pasteurized milk from whatever dairy in America, with white flour and white sugar, would you take one? I would take one. I would beg to take one anytime. And look, all these people became devotees taking these products. So the process works. Process is important. It's just we have sincerity. We try to follow the orders of our spiritual master. And they can say, well, that was 50 years ago. 50 years ago, well, it doesn't matter, 100 years ago. It's our fault. We haven't developed communities. Now I see more and more communities popping up. That's very good. Prabhupada talked about cow protection. He didn't talk about milk production. You know, having a farm was to protect cows. We have 300, 400 cows and bulls. You get a lot of bulls, get a lot of bull calves. Not that you're going to be getting so much milk, even you'll have a herd of 400. We don't have enough. The milk barely gets past taking care of the deities, offering it to the deities. So this dilemma is always going to be there. It's a dilemma, but somehow we have to push through, chant very sincerely our rounds, and whatever Krishna provides, we will accept. I eagerly accept any Mahaprasadam from our Mahaprasadam counter, or Sandesh, or Rasgulas, whatever it is, we take it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions on that topic or anything else?
I don't see any other hands raised.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful. It's so wonderful to hear from you because you're so closely associated with Prabhupada. So did Prabhupada recommend, like you said, offering milk to Krishna is important, but did he specify any particular way in which it should be offered? Like, you know, do you need to add something to the milk, flavor it with cardamom and all? Like, how did he teach you to do it?
That's a good question. Well, with him, you know, Prabhupada was interesting. I think he even dealt with his servants according to their capacity to serve. He never, I told you, 2.5 years. And I'd say out of the 2.5 years, I cooked every day for almost 2 years. So I cooked 1,000 meals for Srila Prabhupada. He never criticized anything I cooked for him. Never said there was too much salt, not enough salt. Milk, he would say just hot milk. The only thing had to be with, I didn't put turmeric in it or cardamom or anything like that. It was milk and it was sweetened. And generally it was sweetened with sugar. On rare occasions, he would tell me to put honey in it. Once in, that's an interesting question because we were in Laguna Beach once. Prabhupada stayed in Los Angeles for 2 months. So Laguna Beach was just, I think, 2 hours away by car, not even 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. And we had a temple there. Panchatattva deities are there now. But Laguna Beach was always a, California in general, we know, Californians, there a lot of vegetarianism was there even in the 70s. They were very health food conscious. And our temple in Laguna Beach was just like that. It was at the beach, Laguna Beach. And the devotees in the temple, many of them they were even raw food. They would eat their alfalfa sprouts and, sprouted foods and things. So they had their deities there. So Prabhupada stayed there one night. So he called me in the room. He said, so I want hot milk. And he said, with sugar. He never gave me direction how, just say, you can bring the milk now. And it had to be boiling hot. That was only qualification for milk for him was boiling hot. Because he said, if it was cool, then it turned to urine. But the hot milk was food. And he would literally start out with the spoon. It was so hot, you couldn't touch the cup. So he would just take spoon and like that. He would eat it. He ate milk. But he asked for sugar. So I, go into the kitchen innocently, I heat up the milk, and I'm there, where's the sugar? They didn't have sugar in the temple because white sugar is poison. Some people say, you'll see books on it. White sugar is worse than cocaine, worse than heroin. It's so addictive. It's so this, it's so that. But he asked for sugar. So I said, where's the sugar? They said, well, we don't use sugar here in the temple. Sugar's bad. They had honey, and only special honeys. So I said, well, Prabhupada wanted sugar. So, well, we don't have sugar. So I put honey in. So I bring it to Prabhupada, give him this hot milk. And of course, I'm sitting there, and I know what's going to happen. I've been with Prabhupada. I knew what Prabhupada was going to, I was with him for a few months. I already knew how he dealt with different things. So, of course, he sipped it, and right away he knew. Could taste the honey. He said, you put honey in. I said, well, Prabhupada, they don't have sugar in the temple. He looked at me, he said, what do you mean? They don't have sugar in the temple. I said, well, they think, they say that sugar it's bad. And Prabhupada looked, he said, Krishna likes sugar. After, chini puri, sugar. So Prabhupada immediately told him, you have to, he said, you eat what you want. He said, but Krishna has to have his sugar, just like Krishna has to have his milk. Not for you. This is devotion. Maybe you go to hell with the milk you provided. Maybe you go to hell with the sugar you provide. That's okay. We have to give Krishna what he wants. We have to give Prabhupada what he wants. I was in New Zealand. A similar thing happened. It was in Auckland, New Zealand, the end of 1972. And it was the same group of devotees, very health conscious devotees. No sugar in the temple. So we got there the first day, and Prabhupada asked for puri and sabji. So I made puris and sabji. They had ghee, of course, in the wok. So then I bring Prabhupada the puri, sabji. I bring him another puri. I bring him another puri. And two sannyasis are there talking to Srila Prabhupada. And these were very health conscious sannyasis. And I bring in another puri, and Prabhupada said, you can bring me sandesh. He said, you don't have sandesh. I said, well, Prabhupada, I said, no, I haven't had time to make anything. He said, that's okay. He said, just bring me a bowl of sugar. So I found a bowl of sugar. I brought Prabhupada another puri, a bowl of white sugar. And Prabhupada grabbed the puri, broke off a piece of puri and went, just crunched it right into the sugar, popped it in his mouth. And these two sannyasis, their mouths are hanging open. And I knew Prabhupada did it just to show them these attachments. This is wrong, that's wrong. Our only concern is what Krishna wants, not what I think. Only what Krishna wants, what my spiritual master has ordered. So for me, it was all very, very clear what was to be done, just to satisfy his desires. Because he was satisfying always Krishna's desires, which I said in the very beginning. Pure devotee, he has no independent desires. If he's doing something, it's Krishna's desire. So Prabhupada was drinking this milk. Prabhupada was taking this sugar. So Krishna was allowing it. This was Krishna's desires. It's not independent desires. So we don't want to, as we know, jump over what our spiritual master says is okay. What our spiritual master has advised. This is what we do. Not that we become better than him. Not that we don't offer carrots on Ekadasi. We don't offer eggplants on the well, this is what they do in this month. This is what they do in this ashram. We follow Prabhupada's instructions. Who spread Krishna consciousness around the world? What does any of these groups, they all said, even way back, I remember in the 80s, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers say, we're simply picking up your Guru Maharaj's crumbs when they came to the West. Everything was already done for them. So we don't need, all we need to do for perfection is to follow Srila Prabhupada in our ISKCON society. Everything will be perfect. Anyway, that's my opinion and the opinion of many of my godbrothers who spent so much time with Srila Prabhupada. So yes,
Thank you.
the milk, it's all these things are fine with milk. It's, depending on the season, you can put cardamom in. We know here in Vrindavan, they say like in the wintertime, turmeric is very good in the milk. So all that's okay. But the important thing is milk. You offer milk.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I want to keep listening to you. It's such sweet passion. Thank you so much for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Srutakirti Prabhu.
Okay.
One
I know
third.
you have a morning program going on there. For me now it's what is it? 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. We're just approaching. So I think
We'll conclude, yes.
I think we ran over, didn't we?
No, that's fine, bro. We'll take questions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Thank you
Prabhu,
so
Hare
much.
Krishna, can I ask Prabhu question or making late?
Make it
Okay,
quick.
go ahead. One more. Last question.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhu,
Right.
sometime like we do the book distribution or meet the new people, even India and here. Some people put the argument says that the ISKCON during the Prabhupada and now change a lot, process change and degradation happens. So that kind of, we meet across that kind of people. So how to, tell them or how to, justify these things?
Well, I mean, we don't need to justify changes. We need to follow Prabhupada's program. I read something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about the Tulsi prayer, how it got changed to
Instead of
Vishnu Bhakti Prati Devi, and in different places they were saying Krishna Bhakti. Instead of Vishnu Bhakti, which is what we always said in the beginning. And I laughed. I said, well, I don't know anywhere else. I said, but here in Vrindavan, we say Vishnu Bhakti. So, of course, Vishnu, Krishna, Prabhupada would say same thing. But best thing is to stay to Prabhupada's program very, very tightly for success in your own life and everyone else, to follow as much as possible. You know, what can we say? I see it, you know, here in Vrindavan, you know, one of the things, I've been here now 4 years, and we do have our battles to keep things the way Prabhupada wanted, the classes the way he wanted, speaking what he spoke, you know, not bringing in other things. He would say quite specifically, all you have to do is read my books and repeat it in your own words. But he would say the same thing. He would say, that's what he did. He said, I'm like the postman. He said, you like it or don't like it, not my business. I'm just repeating what I heard from my spiritual master. And I can tell you, everything Prabhupada did was out of the Shastra or exactly what he was told by his spiritual master. And that's why pure devotee is perfect, because he doesn't invent anything. He just delivers just exactly as he heard. And that's why one is pure devotee. He has no message of his own. He has nothing of his own. He wants to try to interpret, change things, dilute things, water down things, add things for followers. Prabhupada didn't try to
See, internet issues. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Okay, I think Prabhu has to disconnect, I think. Okay, thank you all very much for joining, giving your valuable time and association. Today evening, the Sunday feast program, we join. His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj is going to be there. So, in the evening, 5:30 to 9, please join. And happy Navratri, today, first day. Ramachandra Vijayotsav, Vijayadashmi, Dasara, so many different names we have for that. 24th October, Tuesday is the Vijayadashmi. Ekadasi Tithi is there, but it's not suitable for fasting. That is more of Vijayadashmi, 24th October. We'll be celebrating on Sunday, October 29th, part of the Damodar month celebration. Yeah, 28th to November 26th is the Damodar month, starting with Sharad Purnima, first day on Saturday. We'll have an evening program in the temple. So please join. And please note down this specific month, very auspicious, 100 times benefit than the regular months, any Krishna conscious activities. Offer a ghee lamp or any lamp or a candle to the deities, Yashoda Damodar, Radha Krishna, or Shamsundar, and sing Damodar Ashram. That is the prescription given by Prabhupada. It is also called Urja Vrata, because we fast from the Urad Dal, and also she's called Radharani, Srimad Radharani is called Urjeswari. So increases our devotion for Lord Krishna. So those are the quick announcements. See you all.
Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I just came back. I guess we're about finished. But yeah, best thing is don't change anything. That's the safest position.
Yes.
Prabhupada would talk about change disease. And he said we Westerners were very expert in changing. So now, one thing I see in India with locals is they're very good at doing the same thing generation after generation after generation. The father's a carpenter, son's a carpenter, grandson's a carpenter, great-grandson's a carpenter. But now also, you're in the West, so don't be affected by Westerners' idea of change disease. Keep everything very first class according to Prabhupada's desire, and your life will be successful. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
All glories to you. All glories to Prabhupada. Ayushman Vijay.
Right.
Thank you.
Let me say goodbye before the electricity goes off again. This is one of our great adventures here in Vrindavan. 1 minute to the next, we don't know what to expect here. Anything can happen. All right. Srila Prabhupada.
Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all, Prabhus, Matajis. We'll see you again. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Have a very wonderful
Hare
Kartik.
Krishna.
And if you're very, very, what's the word? Adventurous, you can come to Vrindavan for Kartik. Yes.
Some
If
of
you're
our
very
members are coming.
adventurous.
Some of our members are coming, Prabhu.
But otherwise, come right after Kartik and it'll be much more peaceful. We're expecting crowds like we've never had before. All of Vrindavan is amazingly busy all the time. Yes. All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Krishna
Hare
Nama Prabhu.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktan ki jai. Praise
Jai.
Srutakirti Prabhu ki jai. Thank you, Hare Krishna. On land.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.